Ascent Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Decisive Manager, Get Results, Build Morale, and Be the Boss Your People Deserve, by Barbara Mitchell and Cornelia Gamlem. Narrated by Linda Jones. Introduction. How to use this book. People drive success. When you have the right people working for you, they can help your organization achieve growth and thrive. So it's crucial to treat them right. This isn't always easy. Most of the issues an organization has are people issues and situations that must be properly and promptly addressed and managed. Doing so is not an easy endeavor. People issues can be complicated because every person is a unique individual, and there is not necessarily a one-size-fits-all approach that a manager can take. When you add to all that all the changes that have occurred in the world of work in recent years, changes to the workplace and the workforce, coupled with the increasing potential for legal risk, all of the complications and challenges are compounded. If people are the key to success, then organizations need to spend time preparing managers for the most critical part of their job. Unfortunately, and all too often, organizations take their best-performing employees or their best technical experts and promote them into management roles without adequately preparing them to lead people. Suddenly, you're a manager. So now what? The reality is that it can be difficult to anticipate all the issues a manager may face on a day-to-day basis. Even the most experienced managers can be surprised by a new situation, leaving them feeling vulnerable. New and seasoned managers can be overwhelmed by their responsibilities at times. When those responsibilities involve managing your staff, you can't fly by the seat of your pants, take an educated guess, ignore it, or just throw up your hands and give up. That's where The Decisive Manager can help. This book answers questions about every aspect of managing people, from hiring to firing and everything in between. It includes 6 sections devoted to the following topics. Within each section, there are questions based on situations that managers have actually encountered or can expect to encounter. Since managing people is often complex, there are also questions and answers about issues that you, a manager, may have never thought to ask. Finding and hiring the best talent. This is such a key component of being a successful manager, but it may be more involved than you think. This section answers questions about recruiting, interviewing, job posting, job offers, onboarding, and more. Creating a positive employee experience. Once you've identified and hired the right talent, it's important that they want to stay and be productive. If you're wondering how to do this, answers to questions about employee engagement, retention, and motivation are included in this section. Paying and rewarding employees. Pay and benefits are not the only thing that keep employees engaged and motivated, but they are important, especially in today's workplace. Compensation transparency, employee wellness and mental health, and rewards and recognition are just some of the topics that are addressed in this section. Helping employees grow and develop. You can't expect employees to stay in the jobs they were hired into indefinitely, any more than you can expect your organization to remain static. This section answers questions about creating a learning culture, strategies for doing so, and the manager's role in employee development. Understanding policies and practices. Policies, especially those about people and human resource issues, can be daunting. If you wonder about the role policies play in managing, how to apply policies to specific situations, documenting and investigating issues, and employee activism, you'll find answers to these issues and more. Ensuring graceful endings. Employment relationships end under all sorts of circumstances. It's important that they end gracefully and with respect. Some of the questions explored in this section are about layoffs and exit interviews. Beyond those typical circumstances, what about navigating the changing workplace, especially since the pandemic of 2020? There is a subtopic in each section that addresses many of these issues, such as mobile technology, hybrid workforces, diversity, and the use of gender pronouns. Want to avoid legal pitfalls? Each section also includes a subtopic devoted to typical situations that could land the uninformed manager in a legal quagmire. Some are questions that managers are likely to wonder about, and others are ones that may come as a surprise. You may be thinking, wait a minute, isn't dealing with all the people issues the job of a human resources department? Not really. If you are fortunate to work in an organization that has an HR department with a knowledgeable staff, they can be a source of valuable information and guidance. They can provide a manager with sound advice and recommendations based on individual circumstance. They are not, however, the ultimate decision maker. You, the manager, are. So it's important that you have some background and working knowledge when you find yourself having to sit down with HR. Of course, there are many organizations and small business owners who don't have dedicated internal HR teams. The Decisive Manager is a resource for helping managers help themselves with the people issues they are certain to encounter. If you're looking for a particular topic, you will notice critical terms are in bold font throughout the book, or you can refer to the index. As you go through this book, you may be thinking, question, where can I find more information about managing people? Answer, pick up a copy of the Big Book of HR. Question, what type of information will I find in the Big Book of HR that will help me as a manager? Answer, there are chapters in the Big Book of HR devoted to interviewing, hiring, and onboarding, as well as the role of the manager. The employee experience is so important, and there are chapters providing insight into employee engagement, employee retention, rewards and recognition, and flexibility. Managers play an integral part in employee development, so you'll be interested in reading about assessing employee development needs and best approaches to meeting them, along with the role of a coach and performance management. Workplace harassment is an important topic, and there is a chapter devoted to it. Finally, throughout the book, you will find overviews of relevant employment laws that can help you avoid potential legal pitfalls. We live in a time when people centricity is so important. You have the most treasured resource in your organization, the human resource. Both the Decisive Manager and the Big Book of HR are sources for you and anyone who manages people to work effectively with that treasured resource. Section 1. Finding and hiring the best talent. There is nothing more important than having the right people in the right positions to make your organization a success. It is a challenge to attract and hire the best talent available. Competition is fierce, so how you post open positions, how you treat candidates for positions, and how you make offers can put you at the front of the line for great hires. Now that you've hired them, how do you bring them into your organization's culture? If you're wondering about offering hiring bonuses, or the secrets to successful video interviews, or the best ways to attract and hire Generation Z, or conducting pre-employment testing, these topics and more are in this section. Question. After interviewing several candidates for a position, an offer has been prepared for the one considered the best fit for the job. Once the offer is accepted, I want to notify the other candidates, but I'm not sure how to do so. If I send an email, candidates can take their time to read and process the bad news. Is it better to call the candidates so I can deliver the bad news personally and offer feedback if requested? Answer. Congratulations on doing the right thing and notifying candidates who weren't selected. It is stunning how many organizations skip this step, which is a serious mistake. Whether or not the candidate is the one you want to hire, they have taken their time to interview with your organization, and they deserve to know whether or not they got the job. It is good to keep in mind that every applicant is a future customer or member for your organization. How you treat them impacts their opinion of your firm and your reputation in the marketplace. Trust us, people tell other people how they are treated in job interviews. You want to maintain your status as a good place to work. The recommended way to notify the non-selected candidates is to email them with a short but informational message that thanks them for their interest in your organization and for their time spent in interviewing with you. Let them know you think they have a great background, but that you have selected an applicant whose experience more closely met your needs. If you mean it, let them know you will retain their resume for possible future openings, but don't make any promises you don't intend to keep. For example, don't commit to offering them the next available opening. How do you know their skill set will remotely fit the next job you post on social media? Phone calls can be problematic since they open up the possibility of the candidate pinning you down as to why you didn't hire them, and that is fraught with potential legal issues. So use a well-written email and end by wishing them success in their search. Question. At a recent networking event, I met someone who I think would be perfect for an upcoming opening in my department. I'd like to bring them in for an interview as soon as possible and get started on the hiring process. However, I'm likely to be told that I have to adhere to a process of recruiting and interviewing several candidates. Why do I have to comply with such an arbitrary process? Answer. I understand your frustration, but there is a good reason why we recommend you follow an established process when recruiting and interviewing potential employees. You want to give every applicant, including the one you recently met, an equal chance of being selected for the position. This means using the same process for everyone so that you won't be accused of favoritism in any way, shape, or form. Posting jobs externally allows employers to attract a wide and diverse pool of candidates. Your job postings and your jobs or careers page on your website should clearly outline the process your organization uses. For example, you might let applicants know that the first step is for them to submit an application using the form on your website. Then, let them know they will receive acknowledgement that their application has been received, which does not indicate they will be interviewed and/or hired, just that they will be carefully considered. If there is further interest, they will receive an invitation to do a video or phone screening interview. The interview process continues, assuming there is mutual interest, until a decision is reached to make an offer or end the process. Before an offer is made, references will be checked. Follow your established process, and your organization will hire qualified staff members and avoid potential legal action. Question. We've been having a debate in my organization about job offers. Some people say the manager should make the job offer, while others say it should come from human resources so it's consistent. Do you have any thoughts? Answer. Let's consider the pluses and minuses of each approach for making job offers. If the manager makes a verbal job offer, it sends a powerful message to the candidate that they are valued. After all, the hiring manager is their future boss. However, consider the scenario where an employee received a job offer for a regular full-time position from a hiring manager after working as a temporary hire. When the employee received their first paycheck, they realized the salary was much lower than the one offered. The hiring manager admitted he had misquoted the salary and could do nothing to remedy it for 6 months. Whoa! This organization had some poor processes in place, which had repercussions. For starters, the employee never received an offer letter, nor anything in writing. This carelessness caused them to lose a good employee, who took another position for which they interviewed that was still available. Finally, their reputation suffered. While not all managers and organizations are this careless, this is an example of why some organizations have HR make all job offers. While there's no right answer, there are a number of things to consider, including the size, structure, and nature of your business and industry. You should, however, have a process that documents the terms of the offer, particularly the salary, and get the manager's signature. This provides a record of the intended salary. If the hiring manager is to be involved, the best practice is to allow them to make the verbal offer using a script that HR prepared. Follow the verbal offer by a written offer letter from HR. Email the offer letter, and then send a hard copy via USPS. HR can follow up on the acceptance process. Of course, be sure you have your legal advisors review your standard offer letter and any other more specific ones, such as for senior leadership. Question: is it worth our time to check references? If so, we've been contacted by organizations that will check references for us. It sounds like a good idea and a time saver, but we wonder if it will help us make good hiring decisions. Seems to me that we should do it ourselves, but I have colleagues who don't agree and think we should outsource this part of the hiring process. Any advice about best practices? Answer: yes, it is a very good idea to check references. You want to confirm what you've heard from the applicant, and if you ask open-ended questions, you may learn a lot from the reference. This can be important information as you make your hiring decision. A best practice is to have the hiring manager conduct the reference checks. HR can help with good questions, but the hiring manager knows the job better than anyone else, and the new hire will be joining their team, so get them involved in the process. Another good reason to have the manager conduct reference checks is that many organizations have policies of only verifying employment, confirming an individual was employed, their dates of employment, and the positions they held. A hiring manager may be able to contact the candidate's former supervisor or manager and obtain more detailed information. A hiring manager can also reach out to contacts in their professional networks. We are also hearing about reference-checking services. You're right, they may save you time, but carefully check their references before you hire them. Some of them check references online with no follow-up. Most of them check references much earlier in the hiring process, sometimes even before an applicant is screened. This significantly adds to the cost you will pay for something you can easily do yourself. Question: we've always posted jobs internally, as promoting from within is one of our core values. Some employees who interview for a promotion but don't get the job leave the organization. They may have left anyway, but some of our leaders want to stop posting. Is that a good idea? Answer: please don't stop your internal job posting practice. Here is where you may need to do some research. What may be happening is that certain managers are not doing a good job in communicating the decision about why an internal candidate was not chosen for the position and therefore not promoted. The decision must be made on the requirements of the open position and the skills and abilities of the candidates. Once the decision is made, any internal candidate has to be told they didn't get the job and why. Consider preparing a script for these situations for managers to follow. Include compliments on the employee's skills and their contributions to your organization, but share where they fell short. Give them some encouragement as to what they can do to be better positioned when the next opportunity comes up. Don't, however, make any promises like, if you finish your degree, the next one is yours. It's important to do exit interviews when people leave you. When someone resigns soon after not being selected for a promotion, ask if that contributed to their decision. This information may help you work with your managers to be sure they are not saying the wrong thing. Today's employees are extremely interested in developing their skills, and if you're not providing enough learning and development opportunities, you may not be able to retain your top performers, whether they get promoted or not. So, increase learning opportunities and see if it has an impact on retention. Most likely, it will. Question. The competition for finding and hiring qualified people is strong. When we have a job opening, we seem to use the tried-and-true job postings we've always used, and we're not getting candidates. Should we be doing something different? Answer. If you're like most organizations, as soon as a job is open, you pull out the job description and post it. This will not work with today's job market and with today's job seekers. You need to think of an external job posting as a marketing tool. In fact, if your organization has a marketing department or marketing specialists, sit down with one of them and ask for help. You need to sell your organization as a great place to work and the open position as an opportunity not to be missed. A job description isn't going to make that happen. Start by thinking like a prospective candidate. As you complete the application, what would you need to know about the organization and the open position? Use those thoughts to help you craft a lively and informative post that lets a potential applicant know about your organization's culture, its leadership, its growth projections, its development opportunities, its mission, and its values. Get the idea? Use bullet points, short sentences or phrases, and above all, avoid jargon and acronyms. Remember, you want to get people interested in your organization and in the position, and not scare them away. Take some time and look at what your competitors are posting. What are they sharing? What language are they using? We are in a contest for talent, and you want to attract the best that is available. To compete, you need well-written job postings that give the right information in a way that makes the potential applicant move right to the act of completing your application. Question. What is the appropriate number of interviews before making a job offer? I am reading that today's applicants are unhappy with the number of interviews they endure before getting an offer or being rejected. Answer. Great question, but you are probably not going to like the answer, which is, it depends, particularly on the nature and level of the position. You're right that applicants do get frustrated with being interviewed multiple times, and especially when they are asked the same questions over and over. However, you do want to get as much information as possible from an applicant, and you do want to get input from colleagues in order to make a good hiring decision. What is the best way to do this? Start with a 30-minute screening interview that either someone from your recruiting staff or the hiring manager conducts by video or phone. This is where you find out if the applicant has the minimum qualifications for the position and is in the right salary range. Follow a script so that each applicant is asked the same questions. Based on the responses, decide whether to move the applicant forward in the process. If so, consider who you want to join you as you continue the interview process. Select colleagues or others who may interact with the applicant if hired. You can also include someone who will be a peer. Put together a hiring plan that includes specific questions for each person to ask so that you get a variety of information. While there is no set number of interviews needed to make a good decision, 3 or 4 interviews is probably enough when combined with the information you gather during your own interview and then the reference checks. Do your best to have all in-person interviews on one day so the applicant's time is maximized. At the end of the day, collect information from your fellow interviewers and decide whether or not the applicant will move forward in the process. Always let the applicants know what your process is, including how many interviews are possible and your projected decision date. Keeping applicants informed throughout the process will make a huge difference in your ability to hire them. There is nothing more important than hiring the right people, so do your best to make each interview count. Question. I've participated in panel interviews in the past. Now I'm hearing organizations are doing group interviews. I'm not sure what group interviews are, nor how they differ from panel interviews. I'm wondering if my organization should consider conducting group interviews, and if there are ways of making panel interviews more effective and successful. Can you enlighten me on these issues? Answer. Let's start with the panel interview, where a candidate meets with a hiring manager and some selected peers to spend an hour or so with the applicant. The benefits of a panel interview for the organization include saving time and allowing all the people making the hiring decision to hear all the same information at the same time. They can be effective, but they take some planning so that each panel member has a series of interview questions to ask to avoid the applicant being asked the same question over and over. This can be accomplished by developing an interview format with scripted questions that each interviewer uses. This also ensures that all applicants are asked the same questions. The interview script can also be used by the hiring manager to collect impressions and information provided by the applicant. Panel interviews are a bit more difficult for applicants. No longer is the format a conversation between two people, the hiring manager and the applicant. Now it is a group of people all asking questions of one person, and that can be intimidating. The benefit of a panel interview for the applicant is in the time saved by meeting multiple people at once versus multiple visits or Zoom calls. Group interviews are primarily used in hospitality or retail organizations where significant numbers need to be hired at the same time, perhaps for seasonal positions. They are just what they sound like. One or more interviewers meet with a group of possible new hires all at once. This saves time and, if structured appropriately, can give the organization valuable information to use in hiring. The key is preparing your questions ahead of time and having the right team in place who can ask questions, listen to responses, observe interaction between applicants, and decide who has strong assessment skills. Only you can decide which format is possible for your organization, or whether the one-on-one interview format is best for you. Good luck. Question. We are thinking of contacting some former employees to fill many of our openings we have right now. What advice do you have for bringing back good people who left us? Answer. This is potentially a good idea, but there are some important things to consider before you bring what are commonly called boomerang employees back to your organization. Let's start with the positives. Former employees know your culture and were successful while they worked for you. You also know their strengths and weaknesses, so it makes it easy to determine where to place them. Keep in mind that you should interview them just like any other applicant. You want to learn more about why they left you in the first place and why they would want to come back now. You will also want to learn about what they have been doing since leaving your organization. What new knowledge do they have? What new experiences have they had? Will their new responsibilities be similar to what they did before? What will make it work now if it didn't before? Also, do some probing to find out if, do they have a future focus, or are they stuck in the past? Will returning to your organization energize them, or are they looking to come back because it is comfortable? Before you make the decision to bring back former employees, decide how you will handle the issue of past service credit. This issue can make a big difference if you have benefits that are time-bound. For example, will their past service count toward vacation time or vesting in your 401k programs? Also, don't overlook the onboarding process for a rehire and have them participate in it so they learn what's new and how it impacts them. Some organizations have found hiring boomerangs to be a great way to fill the large number of openings, but you will need to evaluate whether it will work for you and your culture. Don't overlook it as a strategy, but do your research before jumping in with both feet. Question. We seem to be turned down a lot when we make job offers. We think we do a good job of connecting with candidates and making an offer that they will accept, but we get a lot of rejections. We spend a lot of time and money on recruiting, and it is discouraging to have an offer rejected. What are we doing wrong? Answer. If it may.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?